Good morning, Saints. How are you doing on this Wednesday morning? It is the 10th episode of Latter Daily Saints. Can you believe we've been going for 2 weeks straight now? Haven't missed a day yet. And I think that's something to celebrate. What do you think, Hayden?
I don't think you've done many things for 10 days straight, so that's pretty good.
Exactly, dude. And we're celebrating. You see that hat on Hayden's head? Some SOJ merch. Check this one out. Look at that. Beautiful. Shout out to our boy at Everything Creative. He made these hats for us. We'll be linking him in the description. But on our 10th episode anniversary, we've got a fireball of an episode. I chose some particularly close to the chest headlines and featured stories to talk about. So I think we're going to get fired up here. But we're going to be going over the immense amount of temples that are starting to dot the earth, specifically in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho and Nigeria. We'll be taking a look at that. And I'm going to give you an update on the wars and rumors of wars happening across the world and some personal sad experiences I've had in being associated with one of them. I haven't been to war. I'm not trying to be something I'm not. I'll explain if you'll just let me get to it. And in our feature story, we're going to be putting to the test the claim and discussing, is all press good press? We'll talk about it. My name is Jackson Wayne, and welcome to Latter Daily Saints. HP. Temples are starting to be constructed in all nations of the earth. Did you know that?
Every nation of the earth will have a temple.
Every nation of the earth will have a temple. You heard it here. Someone's already probably said it. But if you want to click on that first headline from the Deseret News, we see First Presidency releases rendering location for temples in Idaho and Nigeria. So
that's an epic looking temple, dude. I like that. That archway is sick.
Yes, I know. And if any of you have been fans of the Stick of Joseph YouTube channel, you've probably seen our most popular episode with Andrea Woodmansey on the ancient Hebrew wedding tradition. And arches, they're formerly known in antiquity as Jerusalem windows, that shape of the arch. And it has a ton of significance when it comes to temple covenants. We'll link that in the description below. But this is a beautifully designed temple rendering of what's going to be constructed in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. They've just barely picked the location for it, which it's interesting, and you probably know this because they announced a temple to be constructed in Hungary a few years ago, right?
A long time ago. I think 8 years ago, probably.
Yes. And so sometimes these temples are constructed after talks with government officials have been done and they have allowed the construction of a temple to happen, but not always is the location set in stone.
I will say this, and I think there was an episode of this on some YouTube channel. I can't remember. Maybe you guys in the comments know. President Nelson was notorious for announcing temples that he hadn't told anyone else about. Like he would be in general conference and he would announce at a temple that he wouldn't.
What do you mean not tell anyone?
Like the temple department was like, what? You know what I mean?
Really?
Yes. And so I think there was an article on it maybe. But yeah, I think a lot of times it's like President Nelson's like, we're going to have a temple here. Figure it out.
Maybe. I don't know. I'd be curious to hear about the inner workings.
I'll see if I can find it.
Of those discussions. But if you're in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, or near there, it says the Coeur d'Alene, Idaho temple to be the church's 10th operating temple in Idaho will be built on a 10.91 acre site located at the corner of Hanley Avenue and Cortech Boulevard. I don't know how to pronounce that. I think that's French.
Don't even try,
I think
bro.
it's French.
Yeah.
And it's just not my language.
We need Class A to do it.
Super beautiful. Then scrolling down, plans for the Calabar, Nigeria temple. As for the Calabar, Nigeria temple, it will be built on a 7-acre site at Atikong Drive in Calabar, Cross River State, Nigeria. And this is something that we're planning on covering very soon here. There's been a lot of negative things happening in the country of Nigeria when it comes to people just trying to worship Jesus Christ. And I'm sure you've heard about it. We'll do a proper coverage on it soon. But hopefully that the construction of the temple won't be affected by a lot of these negative things happening.
Oh, hey, bro. So I also found it. If you guys are interested on Let's Get Real with Stephen Jones, there's a 44-minute interview with the former executive director of like temple building, and he talks about President Nelson just like whipping out temple names without telling anybody and them figuring it out.
That's epic. Safe to say that he believed in manifesting, bro. You speak it out loud in the mirror and it'll come true. Heading on to our next headline that is not as positive, but pretty interesting, and I have a lot of thoughts about it. But we're going to give you an update on the wars and rumors of wars happening across the world, one specifically happening in Pakistan. Now, this headline, when I read it, it reminded me of some personal negative experiences that I had, and we'll go into all of it. And as I'm still in the United States Marine Corps, I'm not going to be talking negatively about any leaders or anything. I will just be relating to things that I saw personally and that are public knowledge in a lot of ways. So let's just get into it. And I'll stop just alluding to things that I'm going to talk about, and let me talk about them. It says in this NPR headline, it says, a suicide bomber targets an Islamabad court, killing at least 12 people and wounding 27. And as I read more into this, there's a lot of information about it, but kind of the key part and the important part that I see about this is if you scroll down, Hayden, underneath where it talks about Prime Minister promises accountability. Mm-hmm. So essentially, this suicide bomber strapped himself up and went and did this awful, horrific act. And he basically said, the Prime Minister, it says, we will ensure the perpetrators are apprehended and held accountable. We will not allow the blood of innocent Pakistanis to go to waste. Pakistan's defense minister, I don't know how to say his name, Mohammed Asif, said on X that the country is in a state of war and laid the blame with the Taliban government in Afghanistan, which Islamabad accuses of sheltering the TTP, which is this break-off terrorist organization that claims responsibility for this attack. And it says, Afghanistan can act to stop terrorism in Pakistan, but bringing this war to Islamabad is a message from Kabul, Asif said, and warned that Pakistan has the strength to respond fully. Pakistan has outlawed the TTP, also known as Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, and the United States and the United Nations have designated the group a terrorist organization. The Afghan Taliban takeover in Kabul in 2021 emboldened the TTP, and many of its leaders and fighters are believed to have taken refuge in Afghanistan. Kabul denies it's protecting the TTP, as they probably would if they were actually,
protecting the TTP.
Harboring terrorists, yes. And so as I looked into this more, I'm like, oh, this is bringing back some bad memories. So in 2021, a few months after the initial pullout of Afghanistan, if any of you remember that, it was an absolute, objectively poorly planned operation. And that's just, anyone looking at that, a lot of awful things happened. And I had some personal comrades of mine that were in Afghanistan and saw some pretty awful, horrific things. So if any of you were paying attention at the time, basically how it all went down was the announcement was made that the pullout was going to happen, and then a short time later, you see images of planefuls of Afghans that had allegedly been vetted to get on these American military planes, and they took them from Kabul to Germany, weeded out most of the terrorists that they could identify. Allegedly. And then went to different bases along the East Coast to start their American citizenship paperwork process. And then I had the opportunity of volunteering for an activation to go to one of these American bases and assist in that process being handled calmly, let's say. And it was a very interesting experience and very less than positive for many reasons. But as I was there, the curtain began to be peeled back of all of the things that actually went down during this pullout. And I'm not going to go into all of it. Maybe one day when I'm, no longer a service member, I can tell you all the nitty-gritty details of everything that happened. But I say this because I had an opportunity to ask some questions to some very high-up individuals about the decisions that led up to leaving behind billions of dollars of lethal American military equipment. And because that's a fact that we left behind billions of dollars worth of American military equipment, lethal American military equipment. But also in conjunction with this story of this awful terrorist attack in Pakistan, I looked up to see, is there any correlation here with these weapons being used that were left behind by the U.S. to commit terrorist acts in Pakistan? And I came up with this press release that is released on the Ministry of Foreign Affairs website of the government of Pakistan. Hayden, if you want to pull that up. It says, statement by the spokesperson regarding U.S. weapons left behind in Afghanistan. And it says, in response to media queries regarding the U.S. weapons left behind in Afghanistan, the spokesperson said, the presence of U.S. advanced weapons in Afghanistan left behind in the aftermath of the withdrawal of its troops in August 2021 has been an issue of profound concern for the safety and security of Pakistan and its citizens. These weapons have been used by terrorist organizations, including the TTP, to carry out terrorist attacks in Pakistan. We have been repeatedly calling upon the de facto authorities in Kabul to take all necessary measures to ensure that these weapons do not fall into the wrong hands. Well, that's just interesting because the reigning authority in Afghanistan is the Taliban. So I'm sure that the Taliban are going to do all that they can to make sure that other terrorists don't get these weapons of not weapons of mass destruction, but these advanced weapons of war. And it's just like in scriptures, for example, in Doctrine and Covenants 45, we've already read verses from this on the show before, but this is basically a revelation talking about the last days and things that will happen. And we learn that in verse 26, it says, and in that day shall be heard of wars and rumors of wars, and the whole earth shall be in commotion, and men's hearts shall fail them. And they shall say that Christ delayeth his coming until the end of the earth. And the love of men shall wax cold, and iniquity shall abound. And when the times of the Gentiles is come, in a light shall break forth from among them that sit in darkness, and it shall be the fullness of my gospel. But they receive it not, for they perceive not the light, and they turn their hearts from me because of the precepts of men. Now, there's a whole lot more I could say about this whole situation and the things that I saw firsthand, but you just see these things unfolding before our eyes, wars and rumors of wars, the greed of men ruling over the hearts of leaders. And then when I was so I went over to a base in Virginia to assist in this process of these Afghan refugees, guests, as what they called them, to become U.S. citizens. I saw this video that confused me greatly, Hayden, and I know you just watched it just before before filming this, but I want to hear your thoughts immediately after we watch this, okay?
Yep.
And it makes a big difference to tell the American people the truth about what our options are in ending this war. If tomorrow the order goes out from I'm President of the United States, I issue an order, end the war today, begin to withdraw all American troops. It will take a year to get the American troops out. Do you hear me now? That's the truth. It will take a year to get them physically out. Now, if you leave all the equipment behind, you might be able to do it in 7 months. And you leave those billions of dollars of weapons behind, I promise they're going to be used against your grandchild and mine someday. So
Gosh, that is absolutely crazy, because in that scenario, he's like, if I'm president, then if I say pull out, do this. And I don't know, we'd have to look at the timing, but I'm pretty sure when he announced that they were going to pull out, it was probably close to 7 months. So who knows what intel briefs Joe Biden was getting at that time. But he had a pretty accurate assessment. And, luckily, these weapons haven't been used on Americans yet that we left behind.
To our knowledge.
But it's being used against the Pakistanis and against others. And so, guys, warfare, it's an evil enterprise. And we're both in the United States Marine Corps. And I'm not saying that war is never a necessary enterprise, but it is the last thing you ever want to happen because wickedness prevails in war.
Yeah, so it says Joe Biden announced the withdrawal of U.S. troops from Afghanistan April 14th, 2021.
Okay.
So then May, June, July, August, 4 months.
4 months.
Okay.
So he was able to do it a lot quicker.
Yes, but here's the thing. If you look into it at all, and if you listen to interviews with guys like Andrew Vargas,
yeah.
Yeah. With Sean Ryan, then you'll figure out all the nitty gritty to all of the things that happened during that pullout.
And we have two buddies that were actually there, and had some really bad things happen.
Yeah.
And they're working through that. So it's like it's a really small thing. Over here, it seems like it was a really small thing that happened. It was a couple weeks of chaos, and then there was one attack. And a lot of times we can just brush over that. But for all the Marines there, all the young men there and women, it is an life-altering thing that carries with it insane baggage.
And so I share all of this in the scriptures regarding the wars and rumors of wars and the hearts of men waxing cold to help you understand, just like Hayden was saying, that war and any type of violence like this suicide bombing that happened in Pakistan, it's the worst of humanity. And I want people to understand that when you have these people mongering for war, acting like it's in the U.S.'s best interest to be involved in all these different wars and stuff like that, that there are so many more steps that can be taken before life needs to be lost due to people raising up the sword against their brother. Anyways, a lot more to be said on this, and one day in about 2.5 years, I'll tell you the real deal. But moving into our featured story, Hayden. Do you believe in the adage that all press is good press?
Maybe for Kanye West and like Donald Trump, I guess, has worked out for them, but I don't know. Maybe it's all good press.
Who knows? I personally don't believe it. And that's why when I saw this next news story, I was like, gosh, dang it.
Yeah, it didn't work out. I guess it didn't work out for like Harvey Weinstein, and it doesn't work out for everybody.
Yeah, it doesn't work out for everyone. With press on the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, it could go either way, right? Because it could be like, do people from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints actually believe in that? And then they go in to look and they actually do research and they're like, no, they don't, but they do believe in this. And I think that's way cool. And then they end up learning about the church in a really cool, awesome way. But a lot of times it just promotes stereotypes or silly, weird cultural things that are a minority in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints or not even involved in it. But this article, it says, show shines light on Mormons' unique place in U.S. culture. Okay? It says, the breakout success of the U.S. reality TV show, The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, the third season of which begins this Thursday, so tomorrow, shines a light on America's fascination with the Christian religious movement. Bro, they called us Christians, dude.
Wait a second.
Oh my gosh, I feel so accepted and understood. No, but it continues on. It says, the main Mormon church known... Okay, this is where it gets weird. The main Mormon church, known as the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, has 7 million members in the U.S., 2% of the country's population. Fundamentalist Mormon groups, which practice polygamy, account for fewer than 100,000 people.
Wait a second. That's actually crazy. 2%? That's more than I thought. Like 7 million in the U.S.? That's wild.
Yes. But also it draws this weird connection that somehow the fundamentalist polygamists are still Mormons. I don't know.
Well, I mean, they're connected. Like, here's the thing.
Yeah.
They are connected.
I know.
I know. I get it.
But continuing on,
We're going to say that those women are the secret lives of Mormon wives are connected, then the polygamists are just as connected.
Okay, bro, chill out, dude. I don't know. That seems like a false equivalency there. But anyways, this article gets really interesting when it goes, Mormons are still prominent and unique in American imagination, said Brenda Weber, a professor at Indiana University and author of a book on Mormonism in media and culture. The movement began in 1830 in New York State, coinciding with the rise of the printing press, which served as a springboard for the belief system, Weber said. Mormonism, and particularly the practice of polygamy, was also inspired the Sherlock Holmes story, A Study in Scarlet, and silent cinema hit Trapped by the Mormons in 1922. Have you ever heard about that?
I have not. That sounds
silent dude, we should do
Trapped by the Mormons.
A viewing of that. Mm-hmm. But it says the church which emphasizes, this is interesting, the church which emphasizes singing and dancing has been home to many hit artists, including Donny Osmond and actor Ryan Gosling.
Dude, it makes us sound like we are kind of like the opposite of Footloose. Like, that's the Mormon church. It's like, we want everyone to sing and dance.
Which emphasizes singing and dancing. That's funny. The 2002 Olympic Games in Salt Lake City, Utah, which is the church's stronghold, marked the start of a cultural Mormon moment. I just said movement. The presidential ambitions of Republican Mormon Mitt Romney in 2008 and 2012 coincided with television programs dedicated to polygamous families in Utah. The series Big Love aired between 2006 and 2011, while the reality show Sister Wives has broadcast since 2010. Unfortunate, those. On Broadway, the parody musical The Book of Mormon, named after a religious text, has been a hit since 2011. Have you seen that, Hayden?
I have not, but there is that one song that's like really catchy.
Hello?
Yeah, it's a good one.
It's kind of cute.
I would, from what I know about it, not the move.
It's probably not a great representation of who we actually are.
It's actually very bad representation.
But the article continues and says, around the same time, momfluencers began gaining traction on social media, including matriarchs who are more likely to be stay-at-home mothers with more education and wealth than other American women. Matthew Bowman, a specialist in American religious at Claremont Graduate University, said that the combinations of factors created potential possibilities for social media. Potent possibilities for social media. And then he says this weird thing. Being a proselytizing. And then it says this weird thing.
No, just keep this in because you need to learn how to read.
Being a proselytizing religion, meaning followers seek to convert others, the Mormon women active online create media to attract people, said Weber. Okay, now when it comes to the secret lives of Mormon wives making media to attract people so that they could proselytize to them, I don't think matches up too much when you look at their content. What do you think, Hayden?
No, I think they're probably more just trying to find other people to soft swing with, maybe.
Dude, I don't know.
That was my call. That was my comment about the whole polygamy and secret lives of Mormon wives. Is like the soft swinging is just trying to get the quote unquote benefits of polygamy, which are not actually benefits, without any of the responsibility.
Yes. Okay, now I understand your little loose connection there. But obviously anyone that has seen the show and is a Latter-day Saint, a faithful Latter-day Saint, you're like, this is the least accurate representation of the average woman, a part of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And it's frustrating how much traction that it's gotten, and that people are being like, what is going on with people that are members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints? Is this really this behavior a direct reflection of things being taught in the church? And anyone that actually knows what we believe knows that it is in a lot of ways the antithesis of what we believe. And it's very frustrating. But tonight, because we're filming this late in the afternoon on Wednesday, tonight, the first episode of Surviving Mormonism that we covered the other day is going to come out. So we're going to have to watch that, see how that goes.
Please, no. I don't want to watch it.
I'll watch it for you, and we'll come back with a review to let you know what it's all about. But all I'm saying is I pray that the publicity that is coming to the church with all of these weird TV shows that are not an accurate reflection of what we actually believe actually just spark curiosity in people to figure out what we actually believe and how beautiful the restored gospel of Jesus Christ actually is. That is my hope. I don't know if that is the majority of the end product of these shows and different things bringing publicity to the church, but that is my hope.
Yeah.
You got something to read there?
Yeah, I was just going to say, there's a scripture in Isaiah, that talks about beauty from ashes. So as they try to burn as they try to burn down the church, I think beautiful things can happen because of it. So this is to appoint unto them that mourn in Zion, to give unto them beauty for ashes, the oil of joy for mourning, the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness, that they might be called trees of righteousness, the planting of the Lord, that he might be glorified. So I think that, independent of what these shows say, I know that God can use them to help people. And there may have been people who watched Secret Lives of Mormon Wives and were like, yo, this ain't true. And then they look into it more, and then they feel the spirit, and then maybe they've come to the church.
If you're one of those people watching this, please send us your story. Please, yes. I hope there's at least one person that's been the end product. But again, look, we're not coming at this trying to cast all this judgment and stuff like this. All I'm saying is I watched the first minute of season 1, episode 1, and it was a monologue by, Taylor Frankie Paul saying, the church traditionally believes that, the man provides, protects, doesn't use that exact language, but she just goes about how we look at the different roles in the family. And she's like, traditionally, the moms are supposed to stay home and just take care of the house, do the dishes and stuff. And then she's like, and I'm like, F that. And so I'm like, oh, okay, this is how this show is going to go. And so then I've just gotten sent clips to me of them, with male strippers and stuff like that, talking about sex and whatnot. And so I don't feel that, they are, as it says in this article, making videos online to be able to proselytize to people about our beliefs and theology. But maybe they're playing 5D chess. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see. But with that, we're going to end today's show, and we're so grateful that you've been with us for 2 weeks now. We hope we'll have 2 more weeks. Next week, we're going to be, Stick of Joseph is hitting the high seas with Go and Do Travel. So remember, if you're not looking at the world through a gospel lens, you're only getting half the story. God bless you.